Welcome to the Vikings Central podcast. I'm your host, Brett. Have about 10, 15 minutes here. I'm actually on the road. That's why it's a virtual background. I'm even sitting in my truck right now. Just want to talk some Vikings with you guys, get a video out there for you, give you guys some content. Hopefully my uh, hotspot on my phone does the job here, and we're able to get this video posted for you guys. So about 10 minutes ago, I posted on my Twitter account, Viking Central at Bike Central, just for who do you think we're going to select at 23, or a player that you want the Vikings to select at number 23. Obviously, this is not going to take into effect if we trade up or trade down. I'm just thinking we stick at 23. What players are people interested in? What players are possible for us at pick number 23? So I'm just going to go down the list here. I got about 20 or so people that commented so far. Just going to say their names, see how they would fit, what I kind of think of these players, and like I said, if they'd be a good fit in the Vikings offense or the Vikings defense and stuff like that. So, well, let's take a look and get right into it. All right, Justin Rash at Norm of Tweeting suggested Jordan Addison. Now, Jordan Addison, he did visit the Vikings pre-draft. Really solid player out of USC. I believe he was at Pittsburgh before USC. Just very super talented, great route runner. Really good at intermediate route running. A guy that has put up great numbers in college. Just a super, really good, really reliable wide receiver from USC. Obviously, he's getting passes thrown from Caleb Williams. So, that was a great connection at USC last year and the year before. So this guy, I think, would fit great in the offense, be great alongside Justin Jefferson. Is 23 a bit of a reach for him? I think he's maybe fallen a little bit towards the second round a little bit there. Now, this wide receiver class has kind of been talked about. It's not as great as previous wide receiver classes. Right away, there was some good steam that this was a good class, but farther we go in the draft process, some of these guys are falling out of the first round. Is Jordan Addison one of them? He could be, but I think he'd fit great alongside Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, that's a group we can work with, especially if we have Kirk Cousins or a young quarterback. Those are some really solid weapons in the wide receiver room. Next one is Twin Season, parentheses, 10-7, JJ, salute. And his Twitter is no nonstop 6290368. Thank you for this comment. He says Bijan Robinson if he's there, assuming we trade or cut Cook, which I think is a foregone conclusion. So he said otherwise, if we keep Cook, he'd want Joey Porter Jr. And Joey Porter Jr. was actually mocked by Mel Kiper and Todd McShay's little tandem draft that they did together, that he was going to fall to 23 and the Vikings were going to nab him up. I think that'd be a great selection. Just super physical, super gifted, just would fit Brian Flores' defense to a T. But we're going to talk Bijan Robinson a little bit here because that was his first comment and who he wants the Vikings to select. Obviously, once we get rid of Delvin Cook, we could use another weapon in the backfield. We got Alexander Madison. We got Ty Chandler. But Bijan would come in. He can do everything. He can run the football. He can catch the football. He can pass block. He's a dynamic playmaker, which I think would be amazing for this offense with Justin Jefferson, obviously stretching the field, taking tops off of defenses. But a guy coming out of the backfield, a guy that you can split out wide, motion around, it'd be perfect for Kevin O'Connell to have Bijan Robinson in this offense. Now, is Kwesi gonna select a running back in the first round? Would that really hit his value scale? Probably not. But I won't even look at Bijan as a running back. I'd look at him more as like just a weapon. Like you can use this guy anywhere on the field. I would love that selection at 23 if he's there. Brian Branch. Now we were talking about Fitz and Brian Flores' defense. Joey Porter Jr., Brian Branch would be too, for sure. Brian Branch, kind of a hybrid safety. He can play all around the defense. He'd be like another Harrison Smith. Obviously, Harry's probably maybe his last year here. If we do get Brian Branch, he could slide right in next to Harrison or replace Harrison next year, and you'd have him and Lewis Seen as your safeties for the next damn near decade if you wanted to roll like that. But here's another thing that I'm kind of looking at. I know he's not a typical safety. Like I said, he can play in the box. He can play as linebacker. He can play in the nickel. He can play safety. He can pretty much do it all. And I know Brian Flores loves guys that are very flexible, can play in multiple positions. So this won't surprise me one bit. But they selected Lewis Seen in the first round last year. I don't know if they're going to kind of go that route again this year. Zay Flowers, one of my favorite wide receivers, one of my favorite prospects in the entire draft. I won't be surprised if Kansas City tries to move up and get him. He's working out with Patrick Mahomes, I think yesterday or the day before. Guy's another playmaker, wide receiver. Can take the tops off of defenses, can run the intermediate routes, can run the short routes, jet sweep. He can do everything in an offense, and I think he'd be amazing once again in this Kevin O'Connell scheme that he runs. Brian Brisset, defensive lineman out of Clemson. Guy that can stuff the run and rush the passer. So that'd be a great guy in the middle. Great nose tackle, 3-tech, whatever you want to call it. He could put really big fits in the opposing offenses. Stuffing the run, getting after the quarterback, pretty much doing it all. He'd be like Dalvin Tomlinson, but better, in my opinion, and younger and cheaper, obviously. I think he'd be a really good addition along the defensive line. Deonte Banks, and that was from Jim Peterson. Thanks, Jim. Zay Flowers was from Aiden Clemens. Brian Branch was from Devon. Now we got a Quentin Johnston. Now Quentin Johnston out of TCU. He's kind of your bigger wide receiver, 6'4", can jump, kind of that Sidney Rice type. If we remember Sidney Rice, kind of like a Larry Fitzgerald, but a little bit thinner, and not. I'm not comparing him to Larry Fitzgerald or anything like that, but kind of plays the same way. Probably not as physical as Larry Fitzgerald, but a guy that can. It's kind of not the best route runner, but he's a guy that can take tops off of defense. Really good speed for his size. Like I said, 6'4". He can pretty much do it all. He's good in the intermediate game. Like I said, taking tops off of defenses, red zone threat. He'd be a welcome sight in this offense as well. But I think he might be falling out of the first round. He wasn't even invited to the first round. He wasn't even invited to the draft. So it's going to be interesting to see if they would select him in the first round at 23 if we're staying at 23. But he could be a trade back solution if we do trade back. I'll go a couple more here. Deonte Banks, one of my favorite corners in the entire draft. I think behind Zay Flowers, this is one of the guys that I want, a realistic guy that I could see the Vikings taking here at 23 if we stay. Deonte Banks out of Maryland, super physical, 6'1", 200 pounds. Dude's built like a shit brick house, just to be honest with you. He is super handsy, but doesn't get called for a lot of penalties. He's physical at the line of scrimmage. Just a great overall cornerback prospect. I would love him here in this Brian Flores scheme. Cam Smith. He's about the same size, 6'1", but he's a little bit lighter. I think he's about $185 or so, $185, $190. A little bit slimmer, but really lengthy. Guy can break up passes. He's good with the ball hawking abilities and everything like that. He had 10 penalties last year. A lot of them defensive interference or holding. So that's something we'd have to clean up. I would trust Brian Flores to clean that up. He's about my third option for cornerbacks. I think I got Deonte Banks and Joey Porter Jr. are definitely ahead of him. And I think I even have Julius Brents ahead of him as well. Julius Brents is 6'4", just a super long corner that I think is going to be really good in this league. Jackson Smith-Njigba, honestly, I don't think he's getting to 23, but if he somehow does, that's your selection. Him and Justin Jefferson, end of story. That'd be nasty. That was from Beto Sanchez. Cam Smith was from Zach. Minnesota Gamecock, so he must be a South Carolina fan. Brian Bruce was from Jim Peterson. I think I said that. Michael Rosen was Deontay Banks. All right. Hendon Hooker at 23. Now, I've talked about this situation quite often on Twitter. I get a lot of heat from it. I think it's possible that they could go this route, depending on what Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah think of Hendon Hooker. But if they like him, I think they might go after him, to be honest with you, because get that fifth-year option. And if they think Hendon Hooker could be a future quarterback after 2023, it's possible. I love his accuracy. I love his size, 6'3", 225 pounds, prototypical quarterback, has great mechanics, super work ethic, the best character in this entire draft. Just an amazing human being. Anyone you talk to, they love Hendon Hooker. He transferred out of Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech loves him. Just every ounce of that dude is professional, super good dude. I would love him as our franchise quarterback if Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi think he's the man. Osiris Torrance. Now, that's a guard out of Florida. It'd be nice. This is a guard that plays a guard. It's kind of depend. I think Ed Ingram's for sure going to get one more year in this system, one more opportunity. Ezra Cleveland is a free agent next year. So Osiris Torrance, depending on what this, front office, this coach staff thinks of Ezra Cleveland, I don't think they're going to take a guard in the first round, but hey, you never know. Dude is big, 6'5", mobile, athletic, just a super athletic freak who I think is going to be a mauler and a great guard in this league. And that was from sorry, I got more and more coming in. That was from Viva Skull Vegas. I'll do one more here. Will Levis. If he falls to 23, that's probably your selection, because that's just super good value. Kevin O'Connell could work with him. I know there's been kind of deferring takes with him and Kevin O'Connell. There was a report that Kevin O'Connell loved Will Levis earlier in the draft process. Now it's kind of saying he doesn't really like him. Smoke screen, we'll see. All right, guys, that's what I did. Just went over some draft prospects with you guys. Possible selections at number 23, what I thought of them. Thank you for everyone commenting on Twitter. We will see you in the next one. This is the Minnesota Vikings Central Podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one. It's almost draft time, baby.